Just a quick update before we dive in. Do you want to build your confidence and grow a business that truly supports you and not just the families you serve? Then I made something just for you. The Birthworkers Business Mindset Toolkit is totally free and your ticket to help you shift your mindset, which is the number one thing you need to do to build your business successfully. You can grab it now at the link in the show notes, and I hope it gives you the little boost you didn't even know you needed. Right, let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back to the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective podcast. I am your host, Niamh Cassidy, and I am really excited about this episode because what we are going to do is we are going to plan out your year for next year. So I'm going to talk you through my framework for getting ready for the new year and getting everything organized before January comes, because you will feel much more settled over the holiday period if you have everything in order already. Plus, it means that you will actually get started with your plans in January rather than kicking them out to February. So we're going to look at why you would do this, how you're going to do it, and then how to plan out that year in a way that suits you, because we know that most of us have families that we're supporting of our own, as well as the lovely pregnant and postnatal families, and there can be a lot going on. So a lot of traditional kind of business planning doesn't really work well for us. So I want to give you a framework for a way to let those plans flow without feeling overwhelmed or that you are constantly missing goals that you set yourself. So when it comes to planning as birth workers, we often have a lot of challenges in the way. So we have the secular nature of the work. So sometimes it's feast, sometimes it's famine. Sometimes we have loads of clients, sometimes we're wondering where everybody is gone. And some of that has got to do with when babies are being born. And some of it has got to do with just the seasonality of life, whether that's for our clients or for ourselves as well. Also, we often have unpredictable schedules. So in particularly if we are doing on-call work like birth doulas might be, or night doula support, our schedules can change depending on what clients we are supporting at any one time. And we might decide that we're supporting specific type of clients at one part of the year and different type of clients at a different time of year as well. So what we do can be really unpredictable. So it's good for us to get a big overview of it so that we can feel settled and know exactly how we are going to structure out our year. Also, we know that we're all juggling multiple roles. So we've got our own families, we've got the school runs, we've got our clients, we've just got a lot going on. So we want to make sure that we are also leaning into the seasonality of that. So you might have a different way of planning if your children are all grown up and you do not have caring responsibilities for them anymore, as in the practical things of getting them to school or having them at home with you. Or if you have small children that haven't even started school, you're going to be in a different scenario as well. So we want to make sure that this framework can work for all of those stages of a birth worker's life and career. And also we want to think about what's actually worth focusing on. So where are we going to give our attention and our time? Because overwhelm, it's not rooted in lack of time. It's actually rooted in lack of direction, lack of understanding of what it is that we want or need to do. So planning helps give us structure, consistency, a sense of momentum, clearer decision making, and a space to respond, not react. We want to make sure that we're not planning ourselves to death, that we do leave some spaces for the ebbs and flow of life as well. So we're going to go through this in as much detail as I can in the next 15 minutes. And then if you're interested in doing this in a more practical sense and getting into the really nitty and gritty, this is going to be a live training inside your Birth Biz membership next month. So early December, we normally do pre-recorded bite-sized trainings, but this is going to be a live workshop for members. So if you're interested in finding out more about the membership, you will see some information in the show notes. But for now, let's get stuck in. So the step one in planning for next year is doing a bit of reflection. So you want to start thinking about what worked well this year, what felt good in your business for you this year, what drained you, what did you actually get clients from, what you want more of next year, and what are you absolutely finished with and you never want to do again. So when you're planning for your next year, do that bit of reflection, do a bit of thinking around those questions about what worked well, what didn't work, and then also what you want your life to look like next year. What way do you want to work? What have you learned from this year that you want to carry into next year? And what have you learned from this year that you want to leave behind next year? So once we've done a bit of reflection on the year that has passed, then we can look at really deciding at what matters most. So what you don't want to do is write down like 20, 30, 40, 50 goals for next year. Instead, you want to look at 2 or 3 things that you really, really want to happen that are going to be really, really valuable for you. So these are your handful of real priorities. These are the things that you are going to anchor your year ahead to. So it might be that you really want to work on strengthening your visibility. Or it might be that you have one particular service or one particular offer that you really want to push next year, that you really want to make that your main focus of. Or maybe it's that you just really want to focus next year on improving your boundaries and the capacity you have for the balance between work and life. Or maybe you have a learning goal. So maybe you want to learn about how to create content in a much easier way. Or maybe you want to figure out how you can build consistent income, things that mean that you feel a little bit more settled in your business because you're not always wondering where the next few euro or the next few dollars are coming from. So have a think about 2 or 3 things that you really want to give your attention to that matter the most to you for next year. But make sure to pick things that genuinely move you towards the business that you want and not what you think you should be doing. So what's going to get you to the place where the business is the way that you want it to feel? And we'll have time to go into this a lot more detail in the workshop inside the membership, and we'll be actually making our plans in real time. So if you're the type of person that needs that kind of more hands-on guidance, then definitely think about joining us in the membership. So the next step that we have to do when we're planning our year is to look at our capacity and to look at our capacity honestly. So we'll start with taking a really high level view. So look at your 12 months, all of next year, and any commitments that you already have, start filling them out. So if you already have a family holiday booked, or there's a family wedding, or you've booked into a conference or anything like that, anything that you already know is going to happen, make sure that you have that planned in. So then when you're planning all the other things that you're going to do for your business, you're not trying to get them done during those spaces where you're not actually available. But also when we're thinking about our availability, we don't just want to think about our actual like physical calendar availability. We want to think about our emotional availability and our energy. So our body sense availability as well. So how much can we actually take on? What is going to feel like the right number of clients in a particular month, or the right number of classes to run? Are there months where it's not going to be feasible to run classes because maybe the children are home and we're not hiring childcare? So just have a think about the different parts of the year where you're going to ramp it up more and maybe have more clients, and the other parts of the year where you might ramp it down a little bit. So in your Birth Business membership, we have a training called the 4-month planning training, because I find that for birth workers, planning in quarters just doesn't work. Okay, so when we plan from January to March, that's fine. Okay, that one's usually okay. But then when we start trying to do April, May, June, but even worse, then we're hitting into June and we start to do July, August, September. As we're going into the summer holidays, trying to plan for September is just not what's on our mind. And then we're coming into October, November, December, and it just doesn't work, I find, for birth workers. And this 4-month planning framework has been an absolute game changer for the members in how they are laying out their time and their year as well. So instead of planning like that, we plan from January to April. So we're going to look at in detail January to April. Then we look at the next 4-month block, which is May, June, July, August. So we're building up into that run into summer, but we've got all of summer planned before we're anywhere near it. Then towards the end of summer, we can start looking at September, October, November, December, and how are we going to fill out the whole year. So I find that this seasonality works a lot better for parents in general, but definitely for birth workers in the way the ebb and flow of our work goes. But there's a lot more detail on that inside the training, inside the membership. So anyone who joins, you get access to all of the previous trainings, and that is just one of the ones that is there if you would find that helpful. So then when we start getting a little bit more specific about our plans, we're looking at the whole year. We've carved out the times where we know that we're not available. We've also looked at the times where we think maybe I can't take on as many clients during that period, or maybe I want to take on more during that period because of different responsibilities. And then what we're trying to do is, as we're going to go down into the details of the planning, we really want to remind ourselves that our plan has to be flexible. So just like when we're doing birth planning, it's not about controlling everything. It's a way for you to get clear on your priorities, what way you would like things to go, and also to have some ideas about deviations should things change, or at least the mindset that you know that if you plan out your 12 months and then after you do your first formal planning session, you're kind of like, well, you know what, my priorities have shifted. I'm going to actually change what I was planning to do for the next 4 months. And that's absolutely okay. We want to build in that flexibility because you could learn a whole lot of new things in that first 4 months, because when we're doing planning well, it should be an act of support, not pressure. So just to kind of summarize what we've been through already. So we want to start our planning process with reflection. We want to look at how did the previous year go, what worked, what didn't work, what do we want to leave behind, and what do we want to bring forward with us. Then we want to get clarity about our top priorities. So that might be around, it might be an income priority, it might be a learning priority, it might be a client priority, or it might be a focus priority in that I want to really focus on selling this aspect of my business, as in this service that I run, or it might be something around, I want to run this many of this specific class over a period of time and how that's going to be one of my priorities of the year. So you have a think about what your top priorities are. And then we want to look at what's already in our calendar. So where is the space already blocked out? Where are we not going to be able to fit in any of these things that we want to do? And then looking at the gaps in that, but in a gentle, flexible, and I don't like the word realistic. So what I mean is in a way that you're going to find supportive for you, not overwhelmed. We don't want to be creating overwhelm. We don't want to be cramming everything into a calendar. So if you started this process and you start looking that I have these top priorities, and then when you try and put them into a plan for the year, you're thinking, how am I going to get all this done? Then you need to go back to those priorities and just think about maybe 2 of the 3 priorities, and then go back to your calendar and see where things are going to land. So when are you going to focus on this? When are you going to focus on that? And just looking at that from an honest awareness of your capacity. Because if you've been in business for a year or longer, you already know the mistakes that you've made in relation to this. So that's, again, back to our reflection piece. We don't want to forget that when we start planning for the next year. Then we want to try and break it down into smaller blocks, but not too small. We're going to break them down into those 4-month blocks. So what am I going to get done in this period of time? What am I going to get done in the next one? What am I going to get done in the next one? And the 4-month block, the second and the third 4-month block, can be a little bit more high level, a little bit more abstract, because we want to leave that flexibility there to change them. So we don't want to plan everything down to the final minute. So with the second and third 4-month block, you can leave them a little bit looser, but you just want to have an idea of where you're going in the year. And then you want to sit down and do a much more detailed plan for your first 4 months. And as I mentioned, if that is something that you feel that you would like some support with, there is a training inside the membership on that. But also, if you would like to do this with hand holding, like with a workbook, with being guided through it, with taking the time to do the steps as we go along, that is going to be the next training in your Birth Biz membership. We are going to be doing it in early December. So if you're listening to this before then, you can come and join us live to do it with us. And if you're listening to me after then, it will still live in the training library there for you to take if you do become a member. And in this session, it will be a practical working session, not just the theory or the high level that we did here today. We can only fit so much into the podcast. So you can take this podcast anyway and just work through those steps. But if you want to do it in a lot more detail, where everyone's been walked through it together step by step, and we're all going to do the process, so by the end of it you actually have your plan for the new year already done and dusted, then as I mentioned, just come and join us, and you'll come away with a realistic, personalized plan for yourself for next year. But also what you come away with is that lovely sense of support, of being part of a community. And what I really like for people to do when they're in their membership is to then share some of their plan. So there's a bit of accountability there as well. And everybody can cheer everybody on and see what everybody's working on. And really, it's just so nice to be able to be with people then when they meet their goals, or support people when plans change and things get in the way. So I hope you have found some of that information really, really helpful to get you started on your planning for next year. And just remember that our planning is supposed to help us feel grounded. It's supposed to be simple and it's supposed to feel supportive. It's not supposed to be overwhelming. So if you're starting to feel overwhelmed by the whole process, maybe look at getting a bit of support with it. If that's from the membership, or it's from a colleague, or it's from a peer, or it's from your boyfriend, whoever it might be, just if it's starting to feel overwhelmed, take a step back and maybe go through it with someone else and allow them to kind of say to you, you know, do you really think you can fit all that in there? Maybe we could move that over there. And that can be really helpful as well. Because remember, you deserve a year that feels intentional and aligned. And I want to make sure that you are still doing birth work by the end of next year, because I know how important it is to you. And I know how many families that you can help, and those families deserve to have your support. So give this time for planning to yourself so that you go into the new year feeling excited, feeling energized, and feeling ready to make the birthwork business of your dreams. It has been absolutely lovely having this chat with you today. I hope to see some of you inside of the membership. I can't wait to catch up with you all on the next episode of the podcast coming soon.